Ever heard about the church whose bell rings on its own, always minutes before someone in the village dies? They call it St. Harrow's Chapel, a weather-beaten church sitting on a lonely hill at the edge of a fog-drenched village. Quiet, small, forgotten by most of the world. But the locals know better. They know the bell in the tower doesn't ring for worship. It only rings when it's warning someone. The story starts in 1892, when the town's only priest, Father Alistair Rowan, died suddenly in his sleep. They buried him behind the chapel, but the night after his burial, the bell rang. 3 slow, heavy tolls. Minutes later, a woman named Liza Moreau collapsed in her home. Healthy, young, gone before anyone understood what was happening. People thought it was a coincidence, until it wasn't, because the bell kept ringing. It rang for a farmer crushed by his own wagon. It rang for a child who drowned in a shallow creek. It rang for the blacksmith who stopped breathing beside his fire. Every time, the pattern was the same. The bell rang first. The death followed. By the turn of the century, villagers refused to go near the church after sunset. Some said they heard whispers in the rafters. Others said they saw a figure, dark robe, pale face, moving behind the stained glass windows long after the doors were locked. But one man wasn't afraid. Samuel Wexley, a traveling historian, came to town in 1908. Curious, logical, determined, he decided to spend the night inside the chapel. He brought a lantern, a notebook, a phonograph recorder. Midnight passed. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., silence. He scribbled in his notebook. Maybe it's just superstition. But at 2:47 a.m., the bell began to sway. Not wildly, just enough to give one soft, trembling ring, then another, then a third. He ran outside expecting to find a rope pulled, wind blowing, anything. But the sky was still, the village silent, and the chapel door was still bolted from the inside. No one had entered. No one had touched the rope. His lantern flickered. He felt pressure behind him, like someone standing close enough to breathe against his neck. But when he turned, there was only fog. He sprinted down the hill and pounded on the sheriff's door, warning that someone would die before dawn. And he was right. At 3:12 a.m., the sheriff's wife suffered a sudden stroke. The town demanded the bell be removed, silenced, destroyed. But when they climbed the tower, they discovered something worse than superstition, something impossible. The bell rope had been cut off years earlier, a clean sever, no replacement rope, nothing attached. Yet the bell still swayed, still rang, still warned. Panic turned to desperation. The villagers boarded up the church, sealed every door, abandoned it. But the bell kept ringing anyway, even through the boards, even through storms. Always 3 minutes before a death. Never late, never wrong. For decades, the village shrank. Families left. Children were raised far from the chapel's shadow. Only a few elders remained, the last keepers of a place they hated but feared abandoning. They believed something lived in that chapel. Not a ghost, not a demon, something older, something that watched every soul nearby and rang the bell whenever one was about to be taken. Then, in 1976, a violent storm ripped the roof off the chapel, leaving the tower completely exposed. For the first time in nearly a century, the villagers could see the bell clearly, and what they saw drove some of them to run in terror. The bell wasn't attached to anything. No beam, no chain, no support at all. It hovered there, suspended in the open air, still and impossible. And the moment they looked at it, it rang. 3 slow tolls that rolled across the valley. Half the crowd fled. The other half fell to their knees. But the oldest villager, an 83-year-old widow named Martha Elwood, whispered, "It's not ringing for someone. It's ringing for all of us." Within a year, the village was empty. St. Harrow's still stands today, rotting, cold, abandoned. But locals in nearby towns say that when the fog grows thick, when the night goes too quiet, you can still hear 3 distant tolls drifting over the hills. A warning from a bell that should not ring, for people who are no longer there to hear it. And maybe that's the strangest truth of all. Some bells don't ring for the living. They ring to remind the dead they were never alone.